set up. We're here to talk about. So I can see myself on the viewfinder. I am basically running the idea of a one-person crew. Welcome to the DCBuzz for August. We are live from the Hive. The digital cinematography program presents to you the one-person film crew. But I am not alone here today. I am being joined by lab specialist Jessica Cobine, who is on moderating and will be calling out some stuff with the slates. Say hello, Jessica.
Hello.
And that's exactly how she does it in the live sessions when she's
Hi, Jessica.
I say hello, and I get one word. A woman of few words, but she's very helpful when she's grading. And I'm also joined by Mr. Lab Specialist Alan Harris.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good night.
So
Hi, Mr. Harris.
now here's how we're going to work it tonight. We really are wanting to talk about the idea of the one person or the minimum crew. So we've gone to a skeleton crew, and it is just the three of us. We're going to rotate through, and we're going to have a little bit of time where it will be myself, another person on camera. We'll be doing camera talent, talking a little bit about audio. But in the end, we're actually going to show some tips and tricks for if you are not only the sole crew member, but also you're having to act as the talent. So let's start off with talking about a little bit of safety. One of the things you have to think about is the fact that your camera is going to possibly be alien to any actors you get in the beginning, okay? Because odds are when you're hiring cast and you're doing a student film, you may be finding people from local community theater, your friends, your family. So one of the first things you want to think about is survey your area. Now, Jessica, if you could go to the other camera, this back camera is going to let you see the area that we're in for doing all of this stuff. And we have made sure that it is very clear for us to move, or if there's a cable, it is clearly marked on here. So as we go along, go back to camera one, please. As we go along, we're gonna be showing you stuff through the lens as if this is the camera that you are recording your project on. And camera two, this is an area we'll be showing you as what kind of we're doing as we move around. But be aware, we're not going to be stopping and starting this camera, camera one. So when we do things like calling the roll, setting up mic framing, all these different things, just assume that we are recording as we talk about things. Now, if you have any questions as we go along, there should be a Q&A separate box available to you that you would be able to just put your questions there. Is it available, Jessica? Okay, so put your questions there. Because we are rotating through, we may not jump on them right away, but we definitely will make time at the end. So with that preamble out of the way, Mr. Harris, are you ready to go with our first setup?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be turning it over to lab specialist Alan Harris, and he's going to talk about some tips and tricks about being able to take the microphone off the camera and actually set it up. So if you're by yourself, you will still be able to boom your talent. So I will be standing in his talent, yes?
Yes, let's
Then
go that way.
I will get back on my mark and I will turn it over to you.
Perfect. Let me come around here. And to start this off, we're going to be, of course, using a couple things. Number one is going to be this little handle that comes with your camera kit. We're also going to be using, of course, your XLR that comes with your camera kit. Now, the setup I'm using today is also going to be using two other pieces of gear. Yes, of course.
So XLR cable, it's black against blue light. You can see on here, I was realizing it was against the board. And this handle, just as a reminder, is a handle that came with your camera. You want to use this thing. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So if we can switch over to this camera so I can show off some of this stuff.
Camera two, thank you.
So this is a kind of a mic stand that I bought from Guitar Center for about 25, maybe 30 bucks. It's meant for like a stage microphone, but this is actually a really good way to be able to boom our microphone out of the shot, but in a place that's going to give us great audio. Something else that we can do if we want to switch over to camera number one, so I can show the smaller one, is going to be this guy. So this is going to be a little kind of handle that works for any stage microphone Whenever I bought a little karaoke mic, it comes with it, but you can just buy it again from Guitar Center or from Amazon for probably around $6-7. So not that expensive. The reason we're going to need this is going to be, it's a little hard to see, but it's going to be the threading on the bottom of this is going to be a little bit bigger than what's on the handle for your little shotgun that comes with the camera kit. And also this threading on the top of this stand for the mic stand is going to be the same size as this. No, doesn't fit. It's very, very close.
It's very close.
So close.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why I'm making sure. That's why I wanted to make sure on it. Don't assume by taking off the little bottom that it's going to fit. It's still
Little too big.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do first is take our little guy that we, again, get from Amazon for like $6 and twist it right on there.
So close to so far.
And the very next step is go over to our camera and take off our shotgun.
Now, one thing to point out as he's doing, can you take me to camera too? One thing to point out as he's doing this is we are making general recommendations from what we have purchased to do this. We're not saying you must purchase from the specific place or company that we're talking about, but we are going to throw into the chat from time to time recommendations as where you might look for some of these things. So again, be aware that we're talking about stuff that we have purchased that we're using, but you can do your own research to be able to find this stuff as well. Okay, Alan, back to you.
Perfect. So now we're going to take, let's switch over to camera number 1. We're going to take our shotgun microphone, which we took off of our camera, and stick it right into the handle. And again, typically this is just a little handle that you can use kind of in a way to boom as well. But we are going to take it, and it's actually the perfect size to fit right inside of here. Perfect. Again, I recommend this type of microphone stand because it has the boom feature. So it actually hinges right here. It can give you that angle that you're going to need. So Mike, if I could have you stand in your place.
Okay. To let everybody know, since you can't see it, could you go to camera 2, please? Okay. On the ground is a T mark that we have set with a piece of tape. As long as you're not in a wide shot, it's always good to be able to put this down because I am now going to stand on this mark we have preset for the camera, and I see that the microphone's blocking me. So I'm assuming that means you're ready to go.
I am ready to go. And if we can switch back into camera 1, of course, somewhere around here for audio is perfect, but we see it. So it's not perfect for camera, but it's perfect for audio. So if we can jump over to camera number 2, I'm going to position this in a way to have high enough height to angle this down and spin it to a proper position. Now, if we can go back to camera number 1, proper position for your shotgun microphone is actually not going to be your mouth. It's going to be right here on your chest. That's where you want that angle pointing towards.
Can you show it on camera 2? So just give a reference on here. This is right where I'm at. If I were to draw a straight line, it's coming right down here. So right here, right angle on there, okay? Now, one thing to point out is both myself and Alan are using the viewfinder on the camera. So every time we turn and look, we're looking right into our viewfinder to make sure on everything. So really, you can make use of that, but also be aware of the app that is available for the FX6 for those that have this camera now for going through the degree, that you could actually use your iPad or your phone as a monitor to be able to look at things. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome. So
Just so you know, I have picture up so you can
perfect.
see them.
What is
Oh,
our
cool.
primary picture?
The primary is the wide.
Awesome, perfect. So if we look at our smaller screen, we can actually see right now that there's at the very corner of our left frame, we can see the bar cutting into frame. And that's typically what you need to be careful for. Because even seeing this, yes, you can technically crop it, but you want to give yourself that full frame. So you don't have to crop it if you don't want to. A tip of that is just taking the frame, the stick, and just moving it a little bit. Always remember that a camera lens kind of works like a cone. If we can switch back over to camera number 2, whenever you have a second. So the closer you get to your lens, the shallower or like smaller that cone is. And as it goes out, that cone gets a little bit bigger. So you're going to have a little bit more if you come closer to camera and be able to get that microphone. It's only a couple inches, but that is usually the difference maker when it comes to audio.
And as a reference, you'd be surprised, but the microphone on the camera, you're seeing it's out, and at the wide shot, you're probably seeing a little distant. But to give you an idea where he's lining it up, it's really, you know, if I put my fist at where the microphone is on here, it's right back here to where it is relatively close to where I'm standing on here. So Alan, when you are in a position, we can actually put the, just a reminder, we do have the audio from this microphone that we're from time to time going to use so that everybody can hear it.
And of course, I'm an audio guy, so I'm going to sit here and fiddle with it all day, but you don't have time to do
So
that.
as you fiddle, as you fiddle, I can basically throw in one little extra thing is go back and take a look at some of the previous DCBuzz that we have done, because we have a couple good ones with Professor Andy Rout that does a number of things, especially about critical listening. And if you are already in Portfolio 2, we're heading into it. Assignment 3.5 is going to have all of it. So, hey, just a clue. All right, back to you.
Pretty much there. Something that's going to be a little helpful is if you're able to give this a little bit more height, it's going to let you clear where that little sidebar is. But of course, always be careful of stability. You don't want to put this in a place that is going to make it topple over, especially onto your talent. That's always a no-no. And also don't break your gear. That's a good rule too. So we're pretty much set. And again, I could fiddle with this all day. That's my job. But now that our microphone is set, we're going to take our XLR. Typically, it would go over to your ACAM, but we're going to actually go directly into our stream feed so we can all hear it. I usually like, whenever I'm having cabling go from one place to another, have a coil at each point and then have a straight across, you know, as much as you can get straight. Having a coil at your start point and end point is going to then let you, if you do need to, for whatever reason, move it a little bit, you're not stretched all the way. So it's a lot less time to kind of do that relocating. I personally, whenever it's a setup like this, take my cable and kind of do a wraparound just to give a little bit of strain relief. And you want to always give yourself a little bit of slack at the very top. Remember, with XLRs, always listen for the click. Give it a little strain relief. And if you ever see your cabling, it's a little hard to see when the wide, but if you ever see your cabling bending too extreme, that's not good for your cable in the long run. So just try to give it a little extra slack. Make the lifespan of your cable go a lot longer. Awesome. So Mike, if we can have you step in. Our frame looks, oh, so close. I can see it peeking in just a little bit. There we go. And we can actually now listen to this microphone over on channel number 4.
Am I mic'd down and this is just the only one I'm on? So this is where I have to get eloquent and give my soliloquy of to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether it is novel in the mind is face of slings and arrows.
It is not Shakespeare.
Put everybody to sleep. So how's it sound in comparison to my wireless microphone?
It's sounding pretty good, other than it's obviously a little bit farther away.
Yes.
Different spot.
So be aware of that right now. Is I am wearing a wireless microphone to make sure when I move around that it can be heard. But if you could bring up is my wireless back up?
Make sure you turn down the boom.
Okay, and turn down the boom. Okay, cool. I'm being able to move around on here to be able to pace through, and we've done a little bit on wireless mics in previous DCBuzz, but this is going to be your main microphone. This is the one that comes with your camera. So what I'd like to do for a second, if you kill my microphone and bring that back up, this is one of the reasons why you're really making sure on where your placement is, because as I move around, you're going to see that we're going to lose some stuff. So a lot of times we recommend to students try to not get too, fancy with the camera. And I don't mean as don't try new shots or anything like that, but sometimes it's best to stay with a little bit of a static shot if you're by yourself. Now, if you've got people that can help you and you can get somebody that can do a boom, and we've shown before the paint roller boom, if you get somebody that can help you out and be able to move around with you, that's cool. But think for yourself, what's going to be the easiest thing to get for the audio. And the reason we're starting off with audio and emphasizing this is because it seems like this is one of the things that gets a little bit missed by beginning students or even later students, because you're so focused on my talent, my camera, get the lights up, get the camera up, get everything up, that when your talent finally gets there, you're like, oh, I got to do sound, click, 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 click. Okay, we're ready to go, let's roll. And then we're getting audio like this. It really sounds bad, doesn't it, Jessica?
It does.
Okay, so now I'll turn this back over again to Alan.
Perfect. So there's always things you need to be worried about. Number one is, of course, the safety of your talent and your crew and your gear. Usually with audio, the thing that causes that the most is loose cabling, which can just be very simply fixed by taping it down or making it easily marked. You can also have your stand knock over very easily. We actually came up with this idea while we were setting this up. You can actually take your camera bag, fill it up with some clothing, make it a little bit heavier, and put it right on the leg.
So where would you, for this setup, where would you put?
So you always want to remember where your weight of your stand is going, which is of course going to be in this direction. If you do a little test and can see which legs are of course going to be knocked over first, that's where I would recommend it. So these two legs back here makes it a little bit more stable.
So your camera bag is empty. So what do you put in it?
Definitely clothes.
Yeah, clothes. You can put clothes in. You can go, if you have any of these reusable canvas bags for grocery shopping, throw some cans from your pantry into those and put them in the camera bag. That way you're not throwing cans into your camera bag. Go out and buy a couple, buy a batch of beans or something like that, because that way, once you're done with using them as a sandbox, you can then make soup.
Love it.
If you have your exercise weights, you could always use those
Yep.
as well.
Perfect idea.
Actually, that's one thing I did, and that's a nice little side note, is when I got my first microphone, I got the wrong arm on it, and I was using, it wasn't that it was a bad arm, I was using a heavier mic on it. And so I grabbed two of my wife's exercise weights, the 5-pounders each, put them into a canvas Publix bag and dropped them on the back part of the cable and made sure to sandbag, and we were good to go on it. So always think in terms of safety.
Last
All
thing
right.
you always want to be careful of is your shadows. So make sure whenever you're setting up your lights, you don't typically want your boom anywhere where your key is coming from. That's going to, your key light is of course going to be your harshest light. So it's going to cast the harshest shadow. Usually on the fill side is going to be better because typically that's already diffused. So that's going to cause less of a shadow. Let's see if I can purposely create a shadow up here. Yep, see that? Look at that right there, how I'm covering up our talents. So always be careful of that when using something like a boom.
Are you on camera one right now? Okay, just to be aware of everything, we are in, like I said, live from the Hive. We are in our podcast room for DCBS, and the lights have been pre-rigged for live streams. The cameras have been rigged for live streams. So the odds are when you have your light kits, you're going to be tempted to try and keep the lights at the level of your actor. Get up as high as you can, the 45-degree angle on there. But if you wind up with the shadows, like they said, look at the idea of bounce lighting. Look at the idea on that one, because we want to avoid the shadows. So you were, again, continuing on from the shadows and the boom and everything.
Yeah, and those are again, the little corners in the side of the frame, the shadows, those are going to be the thing that's a little bit harder to see, especially if you're using a smaller monitor like that comes standard with the FX6. So use your eyes in monitor, but also use your eyes standing beside camera, because it's going to be a little bit easier to see that way, and just always be cautious of it. Of course, mistakes happen, but as much as you can, try to avoid them.
And with lighting, you could always have, if you have an extra person being talent, have them put your hands in front of their face so that you can see.
Yep.
Yep. And you can see right there that shadow that's casting.
And try and avoid looking straight at the light when you're doing it. I know it's tempting, but yeah, it does take your time eye to adjust to that one. But very easily, you can see which light is the shadow coming from on when you move things around. So again, as I've said, and it sometimes looks like, I know I'm not addressing everybody here because I am looking at the monitor that is on the camera. One point to also throw in for the camera is the monitor can be adjusted and moved down. I have got the onboard viewfinder almost down to the same height as the lens. It's maybe just a little bit above it on there, so that when I'm looking, I'm pretty much looking at the lens and looking at the monitor almost at the same time.
Awesome. I think that's pretty much everything for me. The last thing I would say is always remember that if you have a more dynamic talent who likes to kind of shift around a little bit, that will affect your audio. Never tell the talent not to be themselves, because then they become robotic. But if they are very dynamic, maybe give them a small suggestion like, hey, you can't pace. You can shift around. That's natural looking. But if they're, walking around on their mark, not only are you messing up your focus, you're messing up your sound and potentially your lighting. So never again never tell your talent, especially in like a mini doc setting, how to be themselves, but give small suggestions.
Now, in fact, you want to set up with the idea of the mark and everything on here. Once you get everything set up, one of the important things is, yeah, you don't always want to be standing here, but we want you to keep camera. But if your character is going to make an entrance, they can still be off camera. Just make sure that they're aware that there's a mark to the microphone as well as to the camera spot, and that'll help out. But if they miss a little bit, we're still going to have some variance on here. So you see I'm moving around a little bit. Jessica, how is it sounding as I move?
It's sounding pretty good.
Okay, now that over here, how's it still
A
sounding?
little off axis.
Okay, a little off axis, a little bit over here.
Still a little off.
Okay, but I'm back in here. So yeah, so there is some wiggle room, but be aware again, the fidgeting actor. This is why an important thing we have neglected to say is put your headphones on for what you're doing in the camera. When I'm asking Jessica how it's sounding, she's wearing a pair of headphones. She's doing the critical listening we talk about when it comes to the audio on here. So I'm trying to think. Let's see, we've talked about setting up the boom. We talked about this. Can you once again go ahead and reference where you got this and what they should be looking for?
Awesome. I'll jump in on camera one here. So you're looking for any sort of kind of karaoke mic stand or stage mic stand. This can be easily bought on Amazon or at Guitar Center. That's where I bought this one. You're looking for one that has a longer boom arm, because you want to be able to get your microphone up into position away from where the actual stand is. If we don't have that boom arm and I have to move that stand closer to me, of course, it's going to be in frame. You're also going to need the little mic clip. Again, whenever I bought a little stage microphone, it came with one by default. So maybe ask a friend or look around. There's chances that if someone owns any sort of audio equipment, they probably have one just laying around. But you can definitely buy one off of Amazon or anywhere like that for probably around $6, $7. They're usually not that expensive.
And Alan, somebody loves your lavaliers. They want to know what they are, where they could buy
So this is definitely the upgrade. Of course, I personally own this stuff. This is what I do for a living. We also have access to Full Sail, so we have fun toys here. The microphone I'm using right now is called a Saken COS 11D. They love naming things very conveniently. And we're using Electrosonics pack. Again, this is top of the line stuff. Definitely something that you will eventually graduate to, but don't feel like you need to have this microphone to be a professional. You can still do these types of techniques very easily, get really, really good audio, and especially with a lot of the post-processing stuff coming out nowadays, you can definitely elevate this raw audio to a level or two above of where its standard is. Just like color correction or anything like that, your raw audio is the baseline and you can go up from there. But if you have audio that's starting at a 4, yeah, you can bump it up to a 5, but that's as good as it's ever going to get. If you're going up to and starting at an 8 or a 7, then you can get up to a 9 pretty easily.
I have you on the boom.
Oh, okay. If I'm on the boom, take off. Oh, yeah, awesome, perfect. Any other questions while I'm still up here?
Can you add the reference to the top of the line mic I don't have the link yet, so he can always post that later. We're going to be doing a more on lavaliers next month.
Yeah, we'll be going over techniques. Me and Andy Rout will be going over how to deal with talent, courtesy things, making sure you're respecting their space. It is your job to sadly invade their space, but as long as you're professional about it and you're confident about it, you can get the job done really easily and effectively, especially once you start dealing with more professional talent. They've done this hundreds, thousands of times before, so they understand the deal. But we'll go over a bunch of all that stuff next month. I think we're good.
Okay, so, and just to point out, yes, we're making use of lavaliers and wireless because we are doing a live stream, but most of the time that we've been standing here, Jessica's gone between the lavaliers and the boom mic, because in the end, this is probably the better one to rely on because it is wired on here. Wireless microphones do run into the scenario that you can drop signal, you can lose signal, it can break up depending on how far away, there's line of sight. And also, don't go out and don't go, oh, I need a wireless microphone, and either spend too much money or get too cheap of a microphone. So seriously, be aware that while it's something nice to be able to have if you can afford it, you can get great audio with the boom mic as we're showing right now, because we are in a room that has air conditioning going right now. We have no control over it. And we are basically, there's high ceilings, that kind of stuff, but it's so directional. And as a reminder, this is the microphone that you get with your camera when you are from composition visual design forward on here. So I know that we're addressing a lot of stuff towards the FX6 and a lot of stuff towards the shotgun mic, but a lot of the things we're talking about in terms of information can also eventually be applied to earlier in the degree. If you think about the idea of mic placement, that's going to be the key, is be aware always where your microphone is on the device you're using and use some of these techniques to keep in mind what we're doing. Okay, so let's see. Okay, question. We're good with the questions so far? Okay, let's get a little bit into the idea of slating. So let's see. We need talent from the audience. You, sir, are you available to come down?
I am available to come down.
Okay,
Where
so
would you like me to stand?
I would like you to stand on this mark right here.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Now, we've never met each other. We've never worked with each other. You've
No,
never
never.
seen these cards I'm holding in
No,
my
never,
hand.
never.
Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna get out the slate. I'm getting out the Uber Duber $90 must-have slate. Of course, you must spend the money for the night. Yeah, right, whatever. Welcome to $15 on Amazon. Works just as good. It's got the numbers. In fact, I like this one better because when you think in slating, you think in scene and shot numbers, and this has both. This barely has any room at all. No, come on down to cheap slates. No, anyway, I sound like a used car salesman there for a minute. Okay, what we want to do is there are going to be different classes are going to have different things about slates. I will point out one thing to be aware of. Yes, a cheap slate is cheaper and can serve work, but you get what you pay for. For right now, in this degree, you only need to have something that will give you the basic information. We'll have the clapper board on here. And I will tell you that at one point, one of the screws fell out of the slate here. So I'll go closer so they can see. I had to use a twist tie, but I've used a twist tie. Still giving me all the information, still giving me the material. It's still giving it that I can come up here and I can basically be able to say, that slate's too far away from the camera, isn't it?
A little bit too far. It's hard to see.
Okay, so now here's the problem. We want to be 70% in the frame. Our talent's back there. Where's our microphone placed again?
Right there.
Right. So you are going to have to be able to make sure the slate is heard. So we would do a call out for the slate. So before we do that, I think we should start right from the very beginning, Jessica,
Yes.
to where if I was behind the camera. So I'm the solo person, I'm behind the camera, I've got my talent. Okay, so are we ready on the call?
We are ready.
Okay, how would we call things out?
Well, first you're gonna put the slate in frame.
Okay, so I'm by myself. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is start the camera. and warn everybody with me, meaning my talent, camera is rolling. Going to step into frame. Now what am I going to do next, Jessica?
Make sure the slate is in focus.
And make sure the sticks are open when you put them in. Okay, so I'm too far away. Okay, I'm right here. What's next?
Make sure all the information is visible.
And meaning it's viewable on the camera, that it can be read.
And just check in that viewfinder and make sure that you're actually in and not cut off at the top, because that's a lot of times it's either cut off on the top or cut off on the bottom.
And I am looking through the viewfinder right now to make sure where I'm at. But if you've got somebody helping you out and you're looking through the viewfinder and somebody else is holding the slate, what's one of the things you should be doing right now if you're behind the camera?
Directing them up or down.
Okay, so direct
So,
me.
Up, just a bit, you're right there.
Okay, right here.
Yep.
Everything's readable.
Everything's readable.
Okay, what's next?
Well, if you're by yourself, you're gonna hit record before you get over here.
Right.
But now if you're filming, you hit record. And then you're gonna read off the scene and the take number.
Okay, and it's nothing, there's no reason, no problem with going, okay, what was this? Oh, yeah. Scene 1, shot 1, apple, take 1. You call marker. Close the sticks. Now, remember, you're operating. So get behind the camera. Keep rolling, turn the viewfinder so you can see on here. Yes, you're still rolling. You're setting the camera. You're making sure everything's going on here. I've got the camera, and on this camera, I've got to make sure, yes, I'm still rolling. That's the key a lot of people don't think about is, yeah, when you're by yourself, you're going to have video rolling after the slate. Do not stop your camera once you slate, or the editor will basically, we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so the shot looks good, and you give you wait, you go, okay, ready? You're going to call action. The actor's going to count to 3, and they're going to give their lines. So, action.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this DC Buzz, all about slating. I hope you're having a great night. And today we're going to be going over a bunch of tips about doing things all by yourself, which many of you are doing constantly.
And cut. So at this point, we would have changed the camera on here, but one thing I need to point out, you don't need to spend, oh, I'm going to turn the viewfinder around. See, this is exactly what you'd be dealing with if you're running solo. Turn the viewfinder back. Moving the button. Where's the button? Not kidding. There we go. Yes, we want you to be aware, planning your time. As you get used to this, you're going to have more and more. But as I said, $90 slate, $12 slate. Here's one I cooked earlier. Wait for it. I've got an iPad. I've got an old iPad. This is about 5 years old. I've got a thing here called DigiSlate. This is a free app for the iPad or the iPhone. There are other slates out there, but you'll notice that because it's on the iPad, I'm having to come closer to the camera to have everything be read. So be aware
You're
on that one.
currently out of focus, which is a great time to talk about our next question of, are you using autofocus on camera 1?
God, no. So I'm standing close, so.
Right now, we're at a F11 on camera 1, which gives us a very wide depth of frame,
Yeah,
depth of field.
so I adjusted it a little bit. Now be aware, I changed focus, so I've got to go back and make sure that my talent's back in focus. So I can use this. I can use my phone, but you have to get even closer. Remember, there'd be close focus. But I want to give you all a little tip. You can go out and get, just like yourself, some cardboard, piece of plexiglass, make your own slate, and you don't have to have the sticks. If you do not have a clapper with the sticks and you want to make sure you stay in sync, you could put all the material in, be rolling, get the slate, make the call, and then
Let me do it for you.
teach your talent how to do this. Marker.
So this is very important. We're going to see the full clap. This is syncing our audio in post, which is very, very important. So you need to make sure your hands are straight. And whenever you make contact, it's loud and precise in one motion. If it sounds like it's happening a bunch of times, it's not going to work for you. Also, with Slate as well, once you do your clap, which I'm going to do right now, so watch your ears, you need to make sure to hold your hand still and also in place for about a second. If you go, that's not useful to anybody. So then you can go.
So speaking as an editor, here's why you want to do that. Why is it that you want to hold for a second? Can you tell me?
Yes, because you need to see for those frames. To actually do
Exactly.
the sync.
Because you're running at 30 or 24 frames per second, which means it's going on and off. So if you move your hands, you're potentially going to have a blur. So you really want to make sure flat palmed and rock and roll. Now, there was one thing that I wanted to make sure of. We also covered.
This?
Assume we're in on a tighter shot. Please just assume on that one. We'd like to leave this set up on the shot we have. So let's assume that we're from here to here. So our slate is going to fill the frame on here. So we've got to be very mindful of the fact the actor is in front of the camera, is in front of the slate.
So close.
So, but I am that close to the
I'm
microphone.
gonna cut to the other shots just so they can see how close you are to him.
Okay. Are they seeing clear?
They're seeing it.
Okay. So again, assume that I am basically the slate is the bottom of the frame. So you can say everything, call the roll, and then you can go marker. And it can be lightly because Jessica, you were able to hear it pretty good on here. The only reason why you might need to do it louder is if you're away from the microphone and you need to make sure it's heard. That's when you do it. You don't want to, Alan, forgive me.
No, you're fine.
The last thing you want to do is do this to your actors. They will leave you. They will walk off your set.
Now, if somebody wants to know, what does having the more expensive slate bring to the table?
It's just the ruggedness. It's just going to last a little bit longer. But honestly, the only things that matter on a slate, if I can borrow one of them,
Yeah.
is going to be this information right here. It's going to make sure that you can see the scene, the take, the roll, the date. It's just the ID. And then the additional clap is also needed, but you can still just use your hands. The only reason that all of this is built in one is because, filmmaking has been around for 100 years. So we've just invented this. But the only things that are important on here are seeing that information and hearing the only difference between this and that slate is going to be that's probably going to last your whole life. This might wear out after a couple of years.
Yeah, as I did before, wrap on the back of that one. Knock at it.
Oh,
Okay, it still gets the same information. Okay, so got the slates. How are we doing on questions?
Pretty good. We've covered most of them.
awesome.
Okay, let's see. So what are we looking time-wise? How are we at?
It is 7:40.
7:40? Okay, let's wrap up with the one thing on there. Get out. On my own, pretending I actually had a crew. All alone, I'm also the talent. So I'm on my own. I love Les Mis. Okay, what can I say? I'm a failed actor. All right, so I'm by myself.
Which is a great time to talk about Deborah's question about how do you use the viewfinder? Well, while you're by yourself, flip the viewfinder so you can see it as your talent.
Exactly. So I'm on my own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some cheats. I may not be able to have the put a mark down on here, but I may put something on the ground like a piece of paper or something. Let's see. Nah, I don't need to show right now. How wide are we on the back camera? Can you see the ground?
You cannot see the ground.
Okay, I'm not going to worry about it for right now
You
then.
can see the ground over by the duffel bag.
Okay, so I'm standing on the mark that I've set up for myself to kind of have in position. I've played with my microphone. I've had to, if you go to camera 2, let's say I put down a mark there. I'm having to line up my microphone based on where I know I'm going to stand. So I'm constantly going to be going, okay, here, and I'm going to watch the levels in the monitor on here and see that. I'm going to check it. I'm going to go here. Then assume that I was not rolling camera. So I'm now behind the camera. I'm the talent. So the viewfinder is set to go. It's facing towards where the actor is going to be, which is me. And it's going to be roll camera. I'm going to step in. I'm going to be holding my slate. I'm going to use the camera. So I'm basically needing to make sure I'm being able to see this. And I'm going to do the same thing that I would do if I had somebody holding the slate. So camera's rolling. Scene one apple, take one, marker. Put the slate down. Come back to my mark. Give me a moment, check the viewfinder, make sure everything's ready to go, that you're very comfortable and happy with what you're doing. Take that deep breath and still call action. Action. I'm hoping that everyone here is realizing that, yes, you can do things on your own. Yes, you can be dramatic and actually fake and look over here and go, but I can see the sunrise. I can see everything happening in front of me. And I was able to do that because I still have the microphone in the proper place. Or I can word over my stumbles and not, or I can step, okay, cut. Go back, turn off the camera. Do not start over again. You will stop the camera at a certain point. Yes, an actor may fumble and may pick up the line quickly, but if you feel you have to start from the beginning again, you basically stop the camera, take the slate, change this to take two, and do the exact same thing all over again. Behind the camera, step in, be able to do this, be the talent. This is one of the things that you want to think about when you're doing your own work. And it doesn't have to just be for class. You can be doing this on your own as you practice with your camera. You can do this with your iPad, with your iPhone, with an Android phone. Anything you can do to practice these kind of procedures would be great. So I'm trying to think, was there anything else I wanted to do solo?
Yes, we have a couple questions about focus for wide shots.
Okay, what's the questions?
Well, one is, how do you make sure that you're in focus on a wide shot? Because obviously there's a lot of space, but the other is about how do you set focus without any help?
How you set focus without any help is the tape measure. Very seriously, you go to the store, get a basic tape measure, have you face your mark. Now, do not do this. Do not attach the tape measure to the camera and pull the tape measure unless you want to pull your camera down and buy a new lens that's going to cost about $3,000. About that, $1,700 for the 85 they just released on there. But take a tape measure, measure it out, use the viewfinder, set your focus, or find something in your house that you can focus on. Get a chair, get a stand, get one of your light stands, and get behind the camera. And if you have the viewfinder facing forward, use the peaking for the focus and make sure that you're in focus. I think I'm pretty good. Jessica, how's that look?
Looking pretty good.
Okay, I put that there on my mark. I put it out of the way. Here I am. Did that cover both of them?
I believe so.
Okay, any other questions?
Do we have other questions? Anybody? They've been asking pretty steadily.
No?
No.
I'm hurt.
I
Or
think
else we're
they're-
doing that
I
good.
think they're just stunned by the brilliance of this.
Just stunned by the breath. No, it was my singing. It drove half of them away. Okay, can you go to camera number 2, please? Okay, so I want you to be aware of the scenario around here. We have got stuff staged over here off camera you can't see. We've got the slates, we've got a keyboard, we've got microphone cables, but we have it all staged properly out. We've got things over here, cables, lights, the whole thing. But notice the area we're in here. All of this is clear. There's only one cable and it's the microphone running off to the mixer, but the odds are it would actually be running to your XLR here. So, okay, so notice how this is a safe area. Keep it that way. Keep things clear, because one of the things you're going to want to do when you get your actors in is you're going to walk through these shots, give them the stuff, and you want to make them feel safe. In fact, one thing that I will give on here is when you look at this and you've got the bag here, I'll make one adjustment. I'm going to move it over a little bit, make sure, because I want to make sure I can walk through safely. I want to make sure that the strap is out of the way. And I'm doing a check to make sure that I can move just as safely as the actors can and be comfortable with the project.
And Mike, please show us how far the microphone is from your head when you walk under. So he's clearing it still. He's not hitting into it and walking into it and hitting his head every time.
So basically that I'm trying to make sure we got everything because we were leaving time for questions.
At least one person said it answered all the questions they have. Another one asked if we will be having any more Zooms like this about filming by yourself.
Oh yeah, if you ask for them. So somebody's asked for them.
Somebody has asked for them. Tell us what topics you would like covered.
Yeah, in here. Okay, here's the opportunity. What topics would you like to see? You throw it in the question and answer because we'll have it recorded on the Zoom. What topics would you like to see covered in the DCBuzz monthly sessions? The more you give us what you'd like to see, the more we can give to you. So let's grab a couple. So you want more a single person shooting, okay? And what else? Come on,
They're
come on,
being quiet.
come on, come on. Give me something. Give me it. Those of you who haven't had me for Portfolio 2, you're going to have fun.
Well, while they're thinking about this, now's a great time to cover what is the focus that you're, or what is the f-stop you're at on this camera?
Oh, okay. On this one right now, I will admit I'm probably going to be Professor Baker's bane of my existence. I'm going to be bane of his existence because the FX6 has 2 base level of sensitivities. So because of the nature of where we are in this room, I am using the high base ISO, high base gain, and I am currently on an F16 at 0 dB to be able to make sure we were able to be seen in here. Because one of the things we run into is the reality of safety for people using this podcast room. So all of our lights are suspended on the ceiling and the plugs are going across the ceiling into a separate power cable. So we have our room set up for safety for being able to come in here, either just use the podcasting equipment or set up a camera like this in here. So it's a little bit different. I would say ideally, if I was going to be doing this with the proper, another lighting setup, if I was doing a full narrative, I would probably want to be at about a, I would say, make sure about ice at f-stop, I would say like about 4.4 or 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5.6.
Yeah. Because they'll give you a nice depth of field. It's going to give you a little bit in front, a little bit behind. The wider open your lens, your aperture is, the shallower the depth of field is going to be. And also, the wider your lens, in fact, what am I on right now? I'm on, forgive me, we set this up by view. I am on about, what am I? About 16 millimeters. Oh, I like looking at the lens. Those are my glasses. Okay, I'm at a 41 millimeter. Okay, so Because I'm a little bit wider, because the lens is a little bit wider on here, it looks like the background is actually far away on here. The more you zoom in, the more compressed the image is going to be. So for what I'm using right now, I'm on about 40 millimeters, standing about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paces away from the backdrop. High base ISO, what did I say, 16 to get this depth of field.
And it's looking pretty nice. I mean, this is not a bad shot at all. We've gotten some requests for lighting and for editing media into video.
Editing media into video, meaning?
I don't know, but that's the comment.
Okay. All right. Well, I can definitely tell you that we'll be doing some a little bit more specific 3-point lighting down the line. But I can give you a little bit of a preview for the ones coming up the next couple months. These will be the ones that we got the request for, we'll probably put into play a little bit later on in the year or beginning of next year. So coming up in September is going to be the return of Mr. Alan Harris and Professor Andy Rout and do part 2 of wireless microphones. And in October, I will be doing, well, I should actually say our lab specialist, Jessica Cobine, will be taking my spot for the Halloween episode of the DCBuzz from our VR stage. That's in October. In November, I know we have somebody and I do not remember what it was. I think it was Jen.
I think it might have been Jen.
Be watching on wearedcbs.com or Full Sail 1 for information on our future DCBuzz.
And your class announcements. We have gotten another request for creative lighting and how it affects the feel of the video. I like that one.
Oh yeah, I love that one. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. If my friends are available, I would like to do that one beginning of next year because we've already got our stuff booked for this year. So I can see doing it as a Valentine's Day thing. Let's do romantic lighting. How about that? Or let's do anti-romantic lighting. Let's go against Valentine's Day and just do the breakup movie.
Thank you, Gio. It's Jennifer Miller in November.
Jennifer Miller. Okay, thank you very much, Gio. That was our department chair. Okay.
We've gotten requests for both of those lighting scenarios. A love turned sour.
A love turned sour. Wait a minute. A love turned sour. Okay.
It is dark in here.
It is dark in
There's
here.
one singular light from the viewfinder and a little green light.
So why don't we turn the house lights on?
Safety first.
Exactly. Flashlight on. We've just had a power failure. Assume that one. We've just had a power failure. Our house lights are going to go on.
Lights coming up.
Look how dark it is in here without these lights. That's why we're going to be doing that. But I wanted to do it because I wanted to see how my crew would react to a power failure, because it can happen. These kind of things can happen for your productions. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is always be prepared for the unexpected. Like, what kind of outro do we want to give? Are we done?
We got a question. How do you remove noise from lighting effectively?
How you remove noise from lighting? Oh, you mean the noise as in fans?
Do you mean the fan noise? I don't know. We did get a suggestion for scripting continuity as a one-man crew, though, which I do like that one.
I love that one. Okay, so I think we're good.
I think so.
Okay, so everyone, appreciate your time. It is what time?
It is 7:55. We
Hi.
are on camera 2, sorry.
I think we can wrap up. I go to do a thank you from myself, Michael Hanley. I would also like to thank Alan Harris on camera 2. And on camera 2, Jessica's going to stand up and wave so that everybody can see her.
I'm going to switch to camera 1. We could all jump over there.
Okay, well, I'll switch to 1.
We're all switching to 1.
Are we up on the boom?
We're up on the boom.
Okay. All right, so we're all on camera 1. We're all on the boom on here. So
Hi.
on behalf of the digital cinematography program, we have been live from the Hive for digital cinematography. Thank you very much for attending. Now we're going to have Jessica rush over and hit the button and turn off the Zoom. Well, I stand here and smile.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Go turn off the Zoom. Bye. Keep waving. It's wait, it's an 80s sitcom.
Thank you.
Drop your hand slightly. 'Cause you were blocking Alan's face.
No, you just go still. It's an 80s sitcom.
Oh, okay.
Are we just doing it?
Just hit end.